Hey everybody, welcome to Game Mess Mornings with me, Jeff Grubb, your host from GiantBomb.com. Thank you for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the biggest entertainment launch ever, and Nintendo begins partnering up to give the Zelda movie, the blockbuster treatment. It's going to be a good one because we have Lex Luddy on the show. Lexi, how are you doing with your Giant Bomb coffee mug there?
I'm doing terribly, but we're still here. Let's keep going. Everything's bad and on fire. Yeah, but I'm keeping busy. Eventually, Grubb, one of these days, something beautiful is going to happen. That's what keeps me going.
Keep at it, and just the law of large numbers, right? Eventually, it's got to break our way.
So yeah, I've basically been surviving like week to week, being like, at least there's rugby on Saturday. There's international rugby on Saturday that I can watch. So like, it's been really good because they have a new format for international rugby at the moment. They're doing like these 2 new tournaments, and it basically means that there is rugby that I can watch from 6 a.m. until 4 a.m. the next day. And I'm like, okay, this is a pretty good way to fuck up my sleep schedule and also forget about the horrors for a little bit. So it's nice.
Yeah, most weekends I could wake up and like roll over and be like, I bet if I like put on Apple TV right now, there is an F1 race, and that's been getting me through. Is kind of looking forward to that. It's the drivers hate the cars this season. It's been great driving, actually. So it's been a lot of fun to watch them be miserable.
It's always fun when they're more miserable. That's
they take it out on each other.
I said this on Blue Sky, and listen, English people, I need you to know, the problem is, it's always funniest when you lose.
Yeah, God, I just could not bring myself to be like, Argentina just won, so is it in England's term? No.
Yeah, like, you start to feel bad for them when you see one of the players crying on the pitch, and then they pan over to the crowd.
A little English boy crying, it's like, that's funny.
Or they pan over to the crowd and it's like a bunch of guys in like St. George's crosses with their Crusader outfits. And you're like, well, I'm cured. No longer feel bad for these people. Sorry about that. And like, also like Americans, it is funny when you lose at sports, but you don't take any real sports serioily.
Right.
You know?
Yes. Yeah,
you only take your fake made up sports seriously.
Yes. Our insular sports. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The one we take seriously that like other countries take seriously is hockey, but only like in very like certain circumstances. And then as soon as it's over, we don't care anymore. So they don't really get that much joy from it, from our losing. Canada obviously gets a lot of excitement from winning. All right. Well, they should do that more often then. Okay. Well, you know what? We should get into this show. Lexi, let's explain ourselves. We're Giant Bomb. Go to giantbomb.com/join, become a premium member. If you do that, it's going to make you a person who is supporting independent games media. It's going to get you access to ad-free versions of our shows. It's going to get you access to premium-only content, of which we are making a ton. But yeah, it's going to ensure the future of independent games media, and we really appreciate everyone who has supported us so far. Means the world to us. Thank you so much. If you want to become one of those people, that's giantbomb.com/join. Thank you once again. As far as this show goes, most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS feed on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Nintendo support article shows inside of new Switch Joy-Cons with removable battery. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC. Nintendo has released a pair of support articles which gives a better look inside the new Switch Joy-Con controllers with removable batteries. In 2023, the European Union passed a new regulation called the EU Batteries Legislation, which requires consumer products with built-in batteries to make these batteries easily removable and replaceable starting from 2027. I could have told you that a law called just the batteries legislation came from somewhere not America, because if it was an American law, Lexi, it'd be like the Battery Freedom Act or something like
Yeah.
that. We have to
The
really
Kids
propaganda.
2 Act.
Yeah.
We're making sure
this,
these kids don't lick batteries and also redistricting all of these voting regions.
Yeah, I have in the middle of my kitchen. I have a small little island, which is just like a counter, and it has a plug in it. And apparently, that is now you can't have those anymore. Like my house is fine, grandfathered in, but new houses can't have the plug there because one person one time did find a way to like trip on it and knock probably a pressure cooker down. I'm guessing it had to be some like a catastrophic event, but usually it's just like one person does something bad and we tear the whole thing down. Earlier this month, Nintendo announced that it would be replacing multiple products in Europe with new ones which meet the standards of this new legislation. These include a redesigned Switch 2 console with a removable battery coming this fall, Joy-Con 2 controllers coming this winter, the Switch 2 Pro controller coming in winter as well, and the N64 and GameCube controllers for Switch coming in 2027. Before those,
that's fucked up to think about. An N64
right?
controller with a removable battery.
I don't want to like look at that.
That's ungodly.
Yeah, it's gonna have a new hole. I don't need that. That thing is already. Yeah. Okay. Before those, the first hardware getting EU-approved revamps are Joy-Cons for the original Switch, and Nintendo has now released support articles for the left Joy-Con and right Joy-Con showing how to replace the batteries. Users will usually not be able to access the new removable batteries in the Joy-Con controllers. Instead, to replace it, they must get a battery replacement kit from Nintendo. That is how it used to work. I just kind of wanted to lead the show off with like something where it's like, this is an improvement. This is good. Things can get better. It takes a lot of effort and like concerted efforts and years, but we can get some change, and it's not that much. It's replaceable batteries in things that did like you could have figured out beforehand. They're just making it easier for the average person. But man, yeah, it's possible, and it's nice to see, Lexi. It's nice to see, right, that we get a chance to like enact change, and it actually goes through, and like a better world is possible. It's not some magical world. It's slightly better, but I'll take it, right?
Yeah, and looking at the images, it is nice that it doesn't seem like there is a whole lot of adhesive. There was one adhesive strip in there holding the batteries in place, and they give you a replacement strip to then, put the, secure the new battery. But like, it is not a shitload of glue. It is not like the Nintendo controllers were particularly bad for this in the past. Just glued all to hell, which makes them basically impossible to use or repair.
Very frustrating.
And as someone who recently took the 64 gigabyte SSD out of their Steam Deck and put in a slightly bigger one, this is good. This is a really nice stash of being able to do this stuff, and like this stuff actually tangibly saves you money in the long run. Because let me tell you, the 64 gigabyte version of the Steam Deck started running into problems with like the OS doesn't run properly on it anymore. It will struggle if it gets overclogged with, it literally, if you have games loaded on there
installed,
it will start overlapping, and it won't be able to install a new OS properly when your system updates, and then you're just kind of like running a really shitty version of the Steam OS, and it's all breaking all the time. So being able to replace these things instead of having to buy a whole new Steam Deck, which right now is
untenable.
Yeah. That kind of user modularity has proved extremely beneficial. And I think like Valve are probably the only company doing this by choice right now.
Right. Yeah, a little bit of the Costco of gaming they got going on, where it's like our values are, and say, okay, I believe you to a certain extent. You keep proving it with the things that you're making, that I can open up this Steam Deck and replace most of the stuff in there very easily. I'm going to be replacing the sticks like this week on mine.
And to a certain extent, like the PS5 isn't terrible for this. You can add an SSD in there
That's true. It's very easy.
Effectively. But they don't have that same option for batteries, which is really annoying. And Xbox is probably the worst, where even though they do have their removable batteries for controllers, they have a proprietary expansion slot for their SSDs, which, boy, those things now cost a shitload of fucking money.
Yeah, they started going back like this hit right when they were starting to come down in price. So it's like, okay, well, they've been around for several years. We can start discounting these things. And it's like, nope, that world is gone. Yeah, that's very frustrating. But yeah, you're right. Like the Xbox controller, I have always preferred just using rechargeable AA's just because for me, it's easier to swap those out, and it's also just easy to like replace them in the long term. Like it's like like my DualSense always felt like it had a bad battery, and it's only gotten worse over the time. And that the same thing definitely happened with the DualShock 4, where I was like, man, this thing just does not hold a charge most of the time when I pick it up to play a game. And it hasn't been charging, and I didn't play a lot last time. Doesn't matter. This thing is dead. I got to plug it in, and now I can actually play my games. So just heavy replaceable batteries is just a nice to have.
The only real thing about this that is kind of a bummer is that you do have to go through Nintendo to get the replacement kits.
Yeah, so yeah, the kit includes the replacement battery, a Phillips crosshead screwdriver. They're going to send you a screwdriver, a set of plastic tweezers, a plastic spudger, and double-sided tape. So you're going to have to kind of get in there with their kit, but it's you probably have your own control. You're going to be able to source a battery from the aftermarket. And then, these other tools are things where it's like, okay, it should be a little bit easier than having to use a plastic spudger, but I bet again you'll be able to make that work with stuff you have around.
Yeah, like Steam does their iFixit stuff, where iFixit basically carries almost every single component of different Steam hardware at this point, which is really nice. But yeah, Nintendo support is generally pretty okay, but they might not operate in every region and things like that. Like it is hit or miss, as we've seen with stuff like Sony and PSN, where PSN just doesn't work in like 100 countries, and that's becoming a real problem.
Yep, absolutely. I'll read this from Chris. It kind of just runs through the process. Users must use the included screwdriver to remove 4 small screws on the back of the Joy-Con. Use the plastic spudger to pry the Joy-Con open. Yeah, that's the thing where you want to use a plastic tool because you could break the plastic if you're using metal. You want to use a plastic spudger if you have one. And pry out the battery, and then use the tweezers to disconnect the battery cables. Apply the double-sided tape, insert the new battery, and connect it to the circuit board. So yeah, these are all things that you probably do have. Or again, yeah, if you have an iFixit kit, you definitely have this stuff. So you would just get the battery in that situation. I guess it's nice in that circumstance then that when Nintendo does sell you the battery, it's a kit with all this other stuff to actually do it properly. That's nice. All right, let's keep going here. Indie developers PS5 game trailer gets flooded with anti-Sony comments over disc backlash. This is where we're at now. This is Chris Scullion of VGC as well. An indie developer has said their excitement at launching a game on PS5 was dampened by anti-Sony comments appearing under its launch trailer. New Zealand studio Eat Pant Games has released Tito, a 3D platformer about a blob and a bunny who have to stop a shadowy corruption from spreading across the world. A launch trailer for the game was posted on the official PlayStation YouTube account, as often happens when new games arrive on the platform. The studio has noted on Blue Sky, however, that after being excited to see the trailer had received more than 400 comments, they quickly realized that almost all of those comments were related to Sony's recent announcement that it will no longer be releasing games on disc from January 2028. Then they kind of did a little reenactment of how they felt like, oh my God, our trailer is getting a lot of attention, 400 to 400. Let's see what these are. Oh no. And yeah, look,
this doesn't seem to be going away.
It's not going away, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Please.
And like, I think that was the big gamble that they made was,
and they're still gambling that. They still think it will.
They still, and I think that it's telling when companies that are ostensibly partners are shit talking it. Yep. And I think Jason Schreier did a really good video on the economics of this and why it is so extremely beneficial for Sony if it does work out this way, and why some partners are actually in favor of it, which is basically if you're not selling at retail, you get a bigger cut of a $70 sale than you would if the cut is going 3 ways between Sony, a retailer, and you. Instead, It's just going between Sony and you. And so some partners are like, yeah, we're actually game for this. But other ones do seem to be like, no, this limits our reach in certain places. The games that need the reach the most seem to be most affected. And I think that, the willingness for individuals at these companies to get out there at least and shit talk it pretty openly is quite surprising, considering the games industry and how people usually act and how everyone is usually walking on eggshells to not piss off anyone that they'll have to work with in a few months' time. So it is like really telling, and I hope people keep this pressure up, because here's the thing. They've repurposed that factory. That factory, those factories, they have said they already have lined up what they are going to be working on now instead. And those decisions do not get changed overnight.
Yeah, big ship, hard to move.
Disc manufacturing isn't going to come back on overnight, but make this a pain in the ass for them. They've fucked up. This shouldn't be an easy thing for them to fix, because they have truly betrayed the trust of their user base in a very real sense, similar to how Xbox did back in the day, and we saw how much that blew up in their face and how much it stuck to them for years. And I think there's a real bit of hubris to all of this, to look around and look at how much it stuck to Xbox, and it's that disc stuff sunk the Xbox One in a very real sense. It sunk that ship before it left the dock. Yes. And Sony seems to be
not overstating things at all. That's not overstating it at all.
I've talked to people in recent years who were still under the impression that they couldn't buy discs for Xboxes, people who don't play games anymore, but they were under the impression if they bought an Xbox, they had to buy their games digitally or whatever. And those connotations stick to you, and this story did break containment, and it kind of has continued to break containment in the way that it is sticking to every single game. I think that the next public showing that Sony has, which is that God of War Laufey Comic-Con panel, I'm kind of worried for, Deborah Ann Wall. She's going to have to put up with... If there's a public Q&A section, there will be a question about discs.
There very well could be. I would assume that there would be. And it's I definitely get this. I sympathize completely with this idea of, well, we should be correctly directing our anger, but it's just not how it works in reality. And people are going to do the things that they think get them heard. And I'll talk about my own experience, just saying I was going to play Crazy Taxi. It's people knew I would listen, and they let me know. And what does that accomplish? You could say nothing, but it does it reminded me. It's every time I'm in a room with someone where it's I know what people feel like. I've experienced, I've seen it. So people should keep that in mind. And I will bring that up more frequently than I might have before. And I think the idea here being this is a little bit akin to the protest that blocks traffic, right? Oh, you're getting in the way of other people's day because you're mad at something else and you're going to ruin their day. And it's but it is about disruption. It is about reminding people this is something that everyone needs to be paying attention to. And I kind of think this is still a way of accomplishing things. Of the next time, and this indie developer probably isn't going to be sitting at a table to say to Sony to their face something along the lines of, "Hey, this felt like a boneheaded decision," but Deborah Ann Wool, and I don't think the people who are mad about this can if you have the capacity to blanket the entire ground in this conversation, I think you have to. Because you don't know what's going to work. You don't know what's going to eventually get into a conversation. Hey, I said I was working with PlayStation, and now everyone's yelling at me about discs. What's going on there? And that is some important person at another company sitting down at a lunch with an executive at PlayStation who's trying to ignore this and pretend it doesn't happen, or maybe doesn't even realize the extent to which it is happening. And now it's getting to them through a business meeting lunch. That is the sort of pathway that could happen here. And so this is what I always get at with people should be loud. And I do think that this is something that can affect change. I don't think, and many of us are optimistic that it will, especially with this, they have moved on. They're shutting down those manufacturing lines, but that does not mean that there isn't some other alternative path, some third party that they could sort of give the contract to to do small boutique runs of physical games just to keep something going. I feel like that stuff's still on the table, and this is the sort of energy that can make that happen.
It also doesn't mean that it doesn't scare them about trying to take another piece.
Yeah,
because
right.
that's
Take more.
as soon as these companies take one thing, they're gonna go for the next thing. And so if you make it extremely loud and clear that you are fucking satisfied with the thing that they have just done, and you threaten their business with no longer, engaging with their business, and they see that drop, that's the thing that does scare. Like, in solitude, boycotts tend to like not have a massive effect, but it's the messaging around boycotts, and it's the conversation that it starts, and it's how these companies are then perceived and how they have to deal with that perception. And like, it's like we said, it's how you have to deal with people who you work with every day. And eventually it becomes untenable. And if enough people think of you as the company funding a genocide or not allowing people to own their games, these things start to build up, and you start to see people take their business elsewhere because, you know what, it's just not worth the fucking hassle. And that's kind of business at the end of the day, is how much hassle is it worth? What's the return on investment?
Hassle is a huge cost associated with it. People don't usually put a price on, but it does.
Yeah. And like, ultimately, hassle is just time, and time is the thing that everyone runs by, time and money. And so, make this thing take up time. Make them have fucking meetings about this constantly and be like, waste their time on this. Even if they're not going to change on it, it's going to affect them.
I mean, and it's not even like, they can, they're going to go ask their AI, hey, there was a drop in PlayStation Plus subscriber numbers this month. And it's like, even that like analysis from AI is going to be like, well, when I look at the news associated with those days or the comments from Reddit from those days, I could draw a parallel between these two things. Is that helpful? Even when they try to like cut humans out of the storytelling within their company, they're still probably going to get the data back from these things saying it is because people are angry at the decisions you're making.
Anecdotally, I've been subscribed to PlayStation Plus since, I'd say, 2014, since I got a PS5, so 2013. And I have used it regularly. I have played online for years.
Right.
But as someone who recently got a PC, and then, like, a Superstation arrived, I looked at my PlayStation Plus upcoming subscription, and I was like, wait, there's literally no reason for me to have this. All Sony multiplayer games are coming to PC. They've said as much. They're going to keep bringing their games to PC.
Crossplay has fully arrived and has been here for a while now. Yeah.
And any game that I want to look good, I'm going to play on my PC. And retro games, I have a Superstation now that can emulate them more accurately. And so I'm probably cancelling my PlayStation Plus this week, which is something that, like, even a couple of years ago, I would have been like, no, like, I use it. Even I like having it there because I like being able to know that if I want to play something online, I can. But, like, if you were any bit tuned into this space, it's become such a bad value proposition paying to use your own internet. It's so hard to justify.
Yep, exactly. And it's, so people already looking for an excuse to cancel, and this stuff I think gave a lot of people the nudge, and then
Kyle Hyde in chat makes a good point. The one thing that is holding me back is that they lock cloud saves behind, and that's a fucking pain.
Yep. And you see, and so it's like, so even sometimes like the obvious reason to get off, people are like, God, like the nudge there doesn't work because they have a lot of anchors to keep you subscribed for sure. But the point is, it's like you can't just cancel. Like there has to be noise alongside of that, and I think that is even when it's And let's circle back to Tito here. I don't think this is going to hurt this game. I don't think that this negative attention associated with PlayStation ending the manufacturing of discs, and that showing up in the comment section of this trailer is going to negatively impact this game's prospects for success. If anything, I am now more aware of it, and we've talked about it here quite a bit in a way that I would not have otherwise. So I'm gonna go check this game out, and I will not hold it against it that it's on. Like, I don't think that many of the comments are even saying that. I think they're just like looking for another avenue to yell at Sony, and they don't really care what the sort of collateral damage there is. But I don't think there's much collateral damage.
And this game is on Steam right now. It is €14, which I'm guessing is about $15. It has 13 reviews and it's positive, and it basically looks like a Banjo-Kazooie like go check this out. It looks really neat. The art style is really nice. Yeah, it came out last night, yesterday. So this game looks delightful. So go check it out.
Cool. I just got it. There we go. Excellent. Okay, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll get into what's happening with Grand Theft Auto 6 predictions. As always, there's a little bit more happening there as well. If you want to skip out on these messages, you can do so. Go to giantbomb.com/join, become a premium member. You can get ad-free versions of the shows there. We'll be right back. It's Game S Mornings. I'm Jeff Grubb. That's Lexi Luddy. Lex, you reviewed Denshattack. Just real quick, it seemed like you were super into it.
That game rules. That game's awesome. I liked that demo, and I played that game at TGS last year, and it was really cool. Playing it now and actually having this is a terrible game to have your first impression of it be on a live stream, because the controls are really complicated and you're going to feel like an idiot in front of people for the first while.
It makes you think and it does like you do play and you're like, oh, I know what I'm doing here because I've played Tony Hawk or whatever. And it's like there's just enough different that you have to really relearn.
It's not Tony Hawk. Yeah,
it's not.
This game joins the long lineage of indie games doing Sonic better than Sonic Team are.
Yep.
And I think that's beautiful. Its soundtrack is incredible. You should look up the list of composers. There's everyone from Too Mellow to Lotus Juice has features on one of the tracks really and all this stuff. It's really good. It's just a lot of fun. It's delightful. It's brisk. It's snappy. And you can breeze through it in 15 hours, but it doesn't feel that long, which is a compliment. It feels like you were just, flying through it, and there's always new and fresh things, and it's always adding new mechanics. And by the end of it, it basically does the Kirby and the Forgotten Land ending thing of oh my god, I could kill a god. I could do anything with the power of friendship. So it's really worth checking out if you haven't.
And it definitely does the neon white thing of, oh, this is a game I just want to play. And then there's cutscenes. I will say cutscenes not as bad as neon white, which I don't want to say were bad, but I just mean they are better in terms of, I'm enjoying this enough that I will watch most of them, and it doesn't take up a ton of time between missions, at least early on. But yeah, I'm into what I'm playing. It definitely it required a little bit of I guess I'll call it a learning curve. Yeah, learning curve, but also just relearning. And once I started figuring out some things, especially I cannot do the Jeff Grubb special of spending 4 hours on one level trying to perfect it, because I need to play through everything that is here first, because there's more to be unlocked, there's more to learn, and then I need to come back and do that. So
yeah, so that's one that it does my favorite thing that is also in some other, it's in Tunic, of the mechanics that are unlocked to you at the very beginning, but you don't get the tutorial for them, or the game doesn't tell you about them until multiple hours in. So the manual in this game, it doesn't tell you how to do a manual early on, because it would just complicate things too much.
I was I think I'm doing a manual. I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah.
And it's only about halfway through the game that they're like, oh, you should try manualing to combo your tricks.
Yep. When I saw that combo meter keep going up on when I got the boat, I'm like, okay, there's a combo meter here. Clearly, there's going to be a way to link those together. And I remember seeing the manual, but I'm like, I don't know how I actually activated that. So,
and I'm not going to tell you. Get fucked.
Great. Sounds good. Hell yeah. I'll keep playing the game because it's very good. All right, let's keep going here. GTA 6 could generate up to $5.2 billion in its first week. This is from Eddie McHugh at GameSpot, who got this analysis from Newzoo. Let's see here, 3.3 billion to 5.2 billion in its first week. Either one would be the biggest entertainment launch basically ever. I think they're expecting something 51 million copies sold in the first couple of weeks or something like that. Yeah. So first week pre-order numbers reached $260 million. That implies 4.5 billion in sales by launch week, Newzoo said. This works out to 51 million copies sold at an assumed $88 average selling price in that first week. That's
quite a lot of money.
That's too many. How 50 million copies? Like, Red Dead Redemption 2 took years to get to 50 million. It got there. It's well past there now, but it took years. I guess Grand Theft Auto 6 demand, the expectation is that it is just so pent up. It's so huge. This is the video game. I guess I won't be shocked when this does happen. I mean, and then there's always the question of what if it doesn't? what if it doesn't do this? But there's no reason to assume it's not going to be the success, at least at launch, that everyone proclaims it's going to be. If there are issues afterward, the long-term tail will be damaged, but launch day is going to be huge, sort of no matter what, Lexi. Is that sort of the thing you believe as well?
Yeah, so to give you an idea how much money 5.2 billion is, the estimated GDP of the European Union for this year is somewhere between 23 and 19 billion. So... Yeah. Imagine
like a quarter to a fifth of the European Union flow of cash. Yeah, that is
all coming through one company over one video game is pretty wild. Yeah, I mean, this game's going to be huge. I'm curious.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's for the EU. It's trillion. That's right. Okay,
trillion. Sorry, I misread that.
No, that makes more. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense now. That I was like, yeah, I did not click at first, but yes, okay. Still, it is massive. It is huge. Yeah. It is, I think the one that always surprises people, it's like, what is the biggest entertainment launch so far? And it does seem like it is that Final Fantasy VII Magic the Gathering crossover that did $2 billion in a day, right? So stupid. Just so, our culture's so fucked. I'm proud of it, but it's fucked. This is going to sort of match and then supersede that, almost certainly. A big part of that is like the prices have gone up, so we like accounting for inflation and stuff. But no, clearly Grand Theft Auto 6 is just going to be a massive hit. The
thing I'm really curious about with this game is how it's going to review. Yes. Because I'm not sure if you've played the video game Mind's Eye, but that was a lot of ex-creatives at Rockstar, and let me tell you, that game's game design a little bit dated.
See, that's the thing. Is like people are gonna be like, "What? Don't compare it to Mind's Eye," but I think that's the exact thing that could be very similar. Is the design of the missions?
Yeah, not like the detail and the open world and the level of polish, which I think GTA leaps and bounds has advantages of institutional knowledge, an engine that actually functions, all these different things. They weren't trying to build a metaverse at the same time. But like the guys who are designing missions and writing dialogue, very similar principles.
Yes, and like you could still see that in Grand Theft Auto 5 and Red Dead Redemption 2, the mission design, no one's out there praising the mission design of Red Dead Redemption 2. When I, criticize that game, that's never the thing that comes up. And it's always, they do defend it like, just stay on the path. I'm like, no, that's bad game design. But then they talk about the things they like, and it's like, okay, yes, there's a laundry list of amazing things in that game. It is not the mission design. And so it's like, Grand Theft Auto 6 does still seem like, with the little we've seen, they are selling that on all the other stuff. They are selling it on the detail and the attention to detail and the amazing animation and the technology that powers all of that stuff. And then for me, like we've heard a little bit of maybe other things, rumors of this idea of there's like this, maybe a cycle and the characters now are behaving a little bit more like Hitman characters, but in a huge open city. So, okay, that sounds promising. How does that affect the mission design? And I tell you, my expectation for Rockstar is very little. They will just make the game they've always made, and that part will be bad.
Yeah. I do have much more faith in the writing after Red Dead 2. I think that game has some brilliant writing. But I'm at the point now where the more I think about GTA 6, the more I'm like, why would they give it to reviewers? Like, why?
Yep.
Like, what benefit would they get out? It's like the Odyssey.
They haven't fucking shown it. So
it's like the Odyssey. Why would you show it to influencers?
Yeah, yes. I mean, it's a little bit different. Right.
It is a little bit different, but it's like you don't need that group's opinion to sell this, which
Exactly.
is why you usually give early access to any individual group. People who are tuned in enough to the games industry to care about reviewers know if they're going to buy it or not already. They've already decided if they're going to play the new GTA. They're either too busy playing whatever game, the Barbie game that is releasing that same day, or they're like, yeah, no, I'll buy GTA because it's GTA. And so everyone else, it's like, no, just do your marketing. And I know that they have a head of PR because they added me on LinkedIn, which is very funny because I'm like, what press? Like, you don't do what press relations? What communications?
Just to usually yell at me for something. It is, yeah. Okay. This is actually, the more I think about it, we're in July now, and this is when the marketing campaign was really supposed to kick off. It hasn't, right? Like, no one's seen any.
No.
Like, okay, because I was on vacation for a little bit. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. We still haven't seen this game. What is happening? Like, we haven't seen it. Like, we
haven't seen someone move the camera
we
in
haven't
that
seen
game.
we haven't seen someone play the video game at all. Like, we've seen a trailer that has characters from the video game, like just doing their NPC stuff for the most part. We've not seen any gameplay. There's still time. There's obviously still time, but it just felt like we would have seen something by now. The pre-orders are available. People can pre-order this game. They can't see it being played. And I guess that, to me, that does speak to I think your underlying point here is, what do they really need to do to sell this game? And right now, it feels like the less they do, the better. Like, just let this thing sell on its myth. And
I mean, it's maybe the epitome of the Puddlegate game, where if they show anything, it's going to be so over scrutinized and catastrophized. Because that's what does the numbers. Is, hey, this looks bad. Is, this is actually a terrible sign, and it's a sign that it's a sinking ship, and all of this.
You can get Puddle News real easy with something like this, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so that's a real good incentive to not show a lot, is to give people as few reasons to get upset as possible.
All right. Well,
anyway, maybe recognize your union.
Yeah, for real. Just don't fire the people that are doing a union. Yeah. Just do the basic.
If they're gonna produce like the GDP of a small nation, maybe they should get to have a fucking union and reasonable work hours. Just saying.
I mean, obviously, just the stories of Rockstar making improvements was always like, yes, they will do the thing that was getting headlines before. They'll address that, but they're not going to fix the culture there. And obviously, allegedly firing a bunch of people that were trying to start a union is just nasty behavior from a company that could afford to easily do that. All right. Former Rockstar dev explains GTA 6's console-first approach. This is Darren Bonthus at GameSpot. GTA 6 is shaping up, blah, blah, blah. Former Rockstar Games producer John Riccio explained to Kiwi Talks that while Rockstar... Kiwi Talks, is that a bad thing? I can't remember. It sounds similar to some other bad stuff, but I'm not sure what Kiwi Talks is.
No, Kiwi Talks is fine. It's a different
thing. Thank you very much. All right. While Rockstar had experimented with developing its games for PC, this ultimately caused problems down the line. It's always better to start with the constraints and then extend, Riccio said, because shrinking is a lot harder than extending. It's way harder to make your games performant than it is to be like, oh, we've got extra room? Cool. We can de-optimize or make things more shiny. Which is like, yeah, I guess if you can afford to do that, that probably is the best case scenario, where it's like, start on the lowest platform that does have the biggest install base. And as long as that's not going to have huge detrimental effects, that's fair. But he does go on to be like, it's not about, like, they're not doing it out of spite that they're not having a PC version at launch. And so, yeah, I think there's all these reasons are there. I think it's also just they've seen it work so many times that having second launches, third launches on new platforms, having the PC launch is like a whole new chance to market this game. And then having the next gen console launch is a whole new opportunity to launch the game. And they really, really like that. So I think these two things go hand in hand. But yeah, not surprised they haven't changed it. Frustrated, but when do we probably do get the PC version within 12 months of this version?
So I'm kind of split on it. If we Like, we know new consoles are supposedly coming.
Yeah, that's the thing that could throw a wrench in the works, right?
Yeah, if new consoles arrive next year, they'll do a new consoles, then they'll do PC. But if new consoles don't arrive, they will probably pivot that work, and it will be like 18 months and you'll see a PC version. And then when new consoles finally do arrive, you'll see a new consoles version. But I do think they will stagger it so that there is at least 3 hits of this game releasing on different platforms.
Yep. They did that with GTA 5. It worked extraordinarily well. There's sort of no reason not to expect them to do it exactly the same here, with like obviously some flexibility in the timeline. Maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's 12 months, maybe it's 18 months. But yes, they will try to do 3 hits. I agree. And you're right. If the next gen consoles come first, those will be prioritized. They make way more money from GTA Online on consoles than they do on PC, where people can play on role play servers or whatever. God, man, I wonder if they're going to launch roleplay servers on console before they have them on PC, since they own that stuff now. A lot of questions with that game that go way beyond, like, what am I going to think about it when I actually play it? Microsoft explains Tony Hawk 1+2 Xbox Game Pass removal. This is from Josh Challies at Insider Gaming. Microsoft has explained the reason behind Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2's sudden removal from the Xbox Xbox Game Pass release schedule, which came less than a week before its expected launch. The 2020 title was announced as part of the first wave of Xbox Game Pass releases for July, then quietly got removed from the service earlier this week, or from mention of the service. So like, hey, we're going to release this thing, and then a week before it was going to hit Game Pass, it got removed from that blog post. Confusion levels were even higher, given the title is an Activision one, meaning that Microsoft owns it. It falls under the Microsoft umbrella. But a simple explanation has now emerged. Jez Corden stated that Microsoft confirmed to him that the removal of Tony Hawk 1+2 from the Xbox Game Pass calendar was due to a licensing issue. They also said it will be back in the future. So they're going to go solve this and bring it back. I just wish, I guess... I'm not on the business side of this stuff, Lexi, and for my side, it's like, just make deals that will cause this to never happen. But obviously, like, the music in Tony Hawk is very important, and you sort of need to do what you need to do to get certain songs in there. Like, you know, you have to have Ace of Spades, you have to have so many of these other songs. And if those ones you just can't make happen because the people who make those deals are scared of the word in perpetuity, which lawyers always are, I guess you have to just make that deal and deal with it later. And then be willing, especially in the case of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2, which should never go away, they should be willing to figure out a way to keep those deals re-upped over time in a reasonable way. But yeah, not surprising, right? Once again, it's licensing.
Yeah, it's frustrating. It's I've talked to people who work on licensing things for video games, and it really does seem like a fucking nightmare. It seems really difficult, and then when you extrapolate that, like, it's one thing if your license is the video game itself, you know, like you're doing a Marvel game or you're doing whatever, you have to work directly with that one licensor, and they'll be a fucking pain in the ass, but like, hey, we're getting this thing out of it. Yeah, we're getting this thing out of it. If you're making a car game and you have to work with 100 licenses or more, boy, and then also people expect you to have radio stations. Oh boy, that's a lot of contracts to sign. So I am not envious of people who have to do all those meetings and sign all those deals. It sounds like a nightmare, but it, like, you know, it results in a worse product for all of us.
Yeah, and it's like this game is still available digitally, and it doesn't seem like it's affecting that. This is about moving it to Game Pass, so it does sound like one of those deals of like, oh, this is a new pathway to reach consumers separate from the one we originally agreed to. So you cannot do this because we did not put this in the original contract when we made the deal with Activision back then. 3+4 launched into Game Pass, no issues there because that was accounted for. So hopefully this is an easy fix and this can just get on Game Pass. But you know, as long as the digital version's still there, I don't really give a shit if it's on Game Pass or not. But yeah, this hopefully they can just make sure that this is safe for the long term. All right, Square Enix keeps releasing, Switch 2 versions of games with no upgrade path. They have a new one. This is from Liam Doolin at Nintendo Life. The sci-fi series Star Ocean is currently celebrating its 30th anniversary, and as part of this, Square Enix has today released a Switch 2 version of the action RPG remake Star Ocean: The Second Story R. It's available on the eShop for $50, like Octopath Traveler 1 and 2 earlier this week. There's no upgrade pathway for the existing Switch version, and save data won't carry over. Here's the official fine print about this from Nintendo's store page. This game is only compatible with the Nintendo Switch 2. Please be aware that it cannot be played on Nintendo Switch on the Nintendo Switch. There is also a Nintendo Switch version of the game. Please select that version or the version you require carefully. Save data is incompatible between the Switch and Switch 2 versions. That's the fine print there. Man, Square Enix, one step forward, two steps back, one step forward, one step back. There's always something they can't figure out, huh?
I would expect better from the company that released cloud versions of the Kingdom Hearts games on the Switch 1.
Yep.
Of PS2 games on the... Square Enix march to the beat of their own drum, and sometimes that beat is discordant.
Mm-hmm.
So they just kind of do whatever, and this sucks. This shouldn't be how it works, but it's how Square Enix have decided they're going to do all of their games. And so if it's how they've decided they're going to do all their games, again, it's one of those things that I keep complaining and keep annoying them, but I can't see them changing for their future upgrades. But yeah, I wish they weren't like this. Stop being like this, Square. Be normal. Yep. Why can't you just be normal?
You just be normal. It's Square Enix. They've refused to. They figured out we should put our games out everywhere. Great. Good for you, honey. You did it. And I kind of want to be I don't want to pat you on the head and not keep yelling at you, but you should also figure this one out. Everyone else kind of has a pretty good handle on this for the most part. And maybe it's not perfect, but usually there's something. Saves usually work. That's one where it's if I'm paying for a whole new version of this game, figure out the fucking saves. It's the same game. What are you talking about? But Square Enix. Are you going to Gamescom, Lexi?
Yeah.
Do me a favor. Go to the Sega booth.
I just got an email. I have an email that came in 20 minutes ago.
Hell yeah. This lineup from Sega looks for real. Alien Isolation 2 with a playable prologue. Some crazy taxi game. Persona 4 Revival. Metaphor ReFantazio. Stranger Than Heaven. Total War 40K. I need you to check out Stranger Than Heaven for me and tell me what's going on.
I need to too.
I need you boots on the ground. We need to get you embedded and find out what the fuck's going on with this game.
I may be inquiring of hey, will there be any people to interview? Hey.
I think you should talk to some people.
Yeah.
See what's going on. Well, just check the weather.
They should let Lexi interview Yokoyama as a treat. It will go well. I promise.
It would be great. I make it happen. But hey, Alien Isolation 2 being playable. That's
That's on the public show floor, which is surprising. This isn't what they are showing to press. This is public show floor. I'm also very curious how Metaphor ReFantazio runs on Switch 2, because that thing didn't run well on consoles.
Yep, exactly. I mean, you always hope it's one of these situations that's happening with Dragon's Dogma 2, where it's apparently it's getting up and running on the Switch 2 in a way that's surprising compared to how it ran on previous stuff. So, yeah, I'll be interested to hear about that as well. But that's a hefty lineup. Sega really does feel like when you list it all out like that, and all that's playable, and all those are kind of new products in one way or another. It's that's a company that's got some stuff figured out in a way that you just would not have thought they would 7 to 8 years ago. They were in such a mess. All right, Nintendo's kicking the Zelda movie promo into overdrive with toys. This is from Kenneth Shepard at Kotaku. The live-action Zelda movie is still just under a year away, but it looks like Nintendo is putting the pieces in place for it to start promoting the film on multiple fronts, including new toys, as the company has entered into a licensing deal with Hasbro. The toy manufacturer will be producing new toys of Link, Zelda, and other characters in Hyrule starting in 2027 as part of a multi-year agreement with the House of Mario. Fans won't have to wait too long to see a preview of what to expect, as Hasbro will be revealing 3 6-inch figures at San Diego Comic-Con on July 23rd. The announcement doesn't specify which characters will be featured, nor what era of the Zelda series they might resemble. They could look similar to the movie versions of Link and Zelda portrayed by Benjamin Evan Ainsworth and Bo Bragason, or they may be based on the characters' game appearances. I'm going to bet somewhere in between. I bet it's going to be like, it's going to look a lot like the movie characters, and then there's going to be elements that are pulled from the games to like make them look extra Zelda and extra Linky. Mostly including this just because it's like, oh yeah, like this is part of Nintendo's multimodal like strategy of, hey, we are making movies and stuff like, you know what it is that I recently learned about, like the Disney flowchart of like how they up all of their franchises, where it's like, hey, we have the core stuff, which are the movies, and those have to have a certain like level of quality and a high threshold. And if we put out a bad one of those, it's going to hurt us. But if we put out a bunch of other stuff, TV shows, toys, music, quality level doesn't matter quite as much for that stuff. We can let someone else handle that. But what it does is it gets people excited, reminds them about it, and then they come back to the movies, and the process starts all over again. And this feels like Nintendo being like, we really need to be stretching our legs even further in all of these directions. And having Hasbro make toys feels like Nintendo's toy selection has always been a little bit like, oh yeah, that's cool, a Nintendo toy. You don't see that as frequently as like, at least as a kid.
I'm gonna say, finally, Nintendo making toys for children.
Making look, the games are serious business for adults. I don't know what you're getting at. But yeah, this just feels like Nintendo kind of getting out there and doing what it needs to be doing. In that vein of what Iwata was saying years ago of like, hey, we got to find more ways to make money from the stuff that we make. And this is cool.
You bet that we get that we get a teaser with the Spider-Man movie? That seems to be the consensus.
I'm with people on that. Yeah, maybe part of me is just very hopeful. I want to see this thing and hopefully get my hopes up for this movie. But yeah, I think that sounds right. Zelda's probably one of Sony Pictures' supposedly bigger movies next year. Spider-Man's their biggest movie this year. So yeah, and people are like, wait, Sony? Yeah, Sony Pictures is making Zelda, just as a reminder. I think most people listening to this probably know that, but it always freaks me out every time I remember. But yeah, I think that's probably the case. What are your expectation levels for it? Because I'm still like, I will be surprised if I think it's good.
The movie?
Yeah.
I like Wes Ball. I think he's a very efficient director, which is something as someone who loves a good dad movie, directors who are just like, I make a lean and mean movie, I'm like, oh, you're the best.
Mm-hmm.
And so Grubb, watch The Order with Jude Law. Dad movie.
Oh, it's
did. Good.
Yes. Yeah. That's great. That's a good dad movie. It is. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a really good dad movie.
Yes, right there in the with Black Klansman. It's right there. Yes.
Yeah. But I don't know, like, Zelda works in a video game because it is a video game, and I don't know how that translates. It's the same as the Elden Ring movie. I don't know how you cram all of the things that make those worlds charming and engaging down into 2 hours. And you can try, but I don't know if they're still the same thing. And it's the problem that video game adaptations have had pretty much from the start. And it only kind of really works with Mortal Kombat, because you think about a Mortal Kombat game, there's about 2 hours of story in a Mortal Kombat game all told. So, like, those movies were actually why... it suddenly makes more sense why fighting games become the default, one of the default ones to make, because they already have the template for a 2 hour story. Whereas other games, you're condensing a lot of stuff.
It's fighting games and horror games, right? Those are the ones that have the formula is there and ready to go. Go.
I'm curious. I would like it to be good, but I know I've gone to the point similar to GTA where I'm like, I'm just not thinking about it. You know, I'm just like, if it's good, great. If it's bad, no skin off my back. I didn't fund it.
Yes, exactly. Right, and that's even Zelda, something I really love. If the movie's bad, I will just forget about it. I've done it before. I could do it again.
You're really good at forgetting about things. It's one of your specialties.
One of my best skills, absolutely. People wish they had that. Today, Thursday, July 16th, that Secret Sauce Showcase is happening at 1 p.m. Eastern. Convergence Games Showcase is happening at 3 p.m. Eastern. These are both indie game showcases. There's some AA stuff in there as well, but check those out. And then tomorrow, Friday, July 17th, in addition to the Bomb 12, everybody, We will have Zenless Zone Zero version 3.1 special program at 7:30 a.m. They can update on that. So you Triple Z fans, I guess, catch up on that when it happens. Congratulations. I'm glad you have this happening in your life. All right, that does it for the headlines. Let's get into the poll question. We have this one from yesterday. Are you excited for the Duskbloods? Yes or no? And God, I'm like right in between. I need to find out more, but it's Miyazaki, and every time I say that, I do get excited. So I'm going to say yes. So did 40% of respondents, maybe more than I was expecting. I mean, I guess it's a FromSoft game. Maybe it should be higher, but I feel like we still haven't seen a ton of this game. It was in the last Nintendo Direct, but it was barely anything. And so I feel like we're going to have to see it and they're going to have to make it look cool. And then this number will go up. But I think this is still higher than I was maybe expecting. 40% versus 60% saying no. But they're going to have that play test in August, Lexi. I'm going to do this poll again, and we'll see what people feel after they get a chance to play it or after they get a chance to hear people's opinion on it. And I'm sure by then we will have probably more like footage of the game running, so people get a better idea of like how it works. All right, that does it for that poll question. We have a new poll question we'll get to here in a second. Before we do that, Lex Luddy, tell people where they can find you on the internet, what you have going on, all that good stuff.
Yes, you can find me on Blue Sky, lexluddy.xyz. I was on the Nextlander podcast last week, so go listen to that if you want to hear us talk about all of the good news in the video game industry. They picked a really good week to take off. There was so much good news to recap when they came back. It was so nice. And then my Denshattack review went live yesterday. That's on Gamer Guides, and I also had a Assassin's Creed Black Flag resynced review up on Gamer Guides last week. So check those out. I'm currently preparing for Gamescom. If you're a developer or publisher going to Gamescom, give me a shout. If you're a person going to Gamescom, hit me up on Blue Sky. You know, I'm gonna be there a day or two beforehand, so I'll have some downtime. I'll just be chilling with folks. So yeah, give me a shout.
All right, excellent. Let's get to that new poll question. Are you getting GTA 6 on day one? Yes or no? Just based on that, I mean, everyone else in the world apparently is. Like, I guess I'll be getting it day one, so I'm getting it day one. Are you? And yes or no? I'm just kind of curious to check in on this. We'll get the results, talk about it on Game S Mornings here on Giant Bomb tomorrow. Speaking of Giant Bomb, no, we're not doing a Zenless Zone Zero takeover or anything like that. We're not going to be talking about that game. But we will be having our UPF program. We will have another Game S Mornings later today. There's going to be our voicemail dump truck with a very special guest. Big E is on the show, everybody. He is, that's a cool dude.
As a non-wrestling person, he seems like a real swell guy.
He is swell and swole, and he's awesome. He's just, he's super funny, and he's going to be able to talk about anything, which is going to serve him well on the voicemail dump truck. Really looking forward to seeing how he interacts with Mike and Jan and the guys. So tune in for that later today, everybody. And then we have a whole mess of content for you could check out. This is the run is happening right now for Sewer Shark. There's new episodes of that going up on Tuesdays and Saturdays right now. So, but you know, you're only going to need the next one on Saturday because that's going to be the run.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the run, obviously.
I downloaded again Super Station, got the Sega CD set up. He's so fucked.
It's I when I first really played that on the Sega CD or the Sega Mini 2, it was just like I need to stand further back from this TV to make sense what I'm even looking at. All right. Oh, that's right. Heave Ho 2 Quick Look. That's a fun one. Go check that out, everybody. I love Heave Ho. Heave Ho 2 is better. They just like get that game so well.
Is that embargoed, or does it still have a fart button?
It still has a fart button. Yeah, I think we could talk about that now that the Quick Look is out.
That's all I care about.
Yep, and there's definitely we use the fart button in the Quick Look. Weirdly, you'll be surprised to learn. So go check. I know. Yeah, go check that out, and then I guess you can go watch the new episode of Blight Club, where it's my season now, and I am Grubbadillo. I'm playing Cyberdillo, the game that I was so excited to give to Dan and Mike, and they never cared, and they turned it around and used it on me.
It's Jeff Grubb, the Grubbadillo guy.
I'm the Cyberdillo guy now. Yeah. that game, it hurt my head, and it's hurting everyone else's head. So it's bad content. Like unlike Space Ace, it really is hurting people.
Do you want to know the good news? We can all look away.
I can't look away.
We can just have it on a second monitor. We can just listen to you suffer, look back and be like, oh, that looks like shit anyway.
So I guess go watch the new episode of Blight Club. At the very least, you're going to want to see me in my Cyberdillo costume. So go check that out. That reveal is a lot of fun. And I'll be back with more Cyberdillo next week and for the foreseeable future. Hooray. All right. I think with all that out of the way, Lexi, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about video games. I really appreciate it.
Anytime. Always a good time, even when it's a bad time.
Even when it's a bad time, it's a good time. Thank you all for watching and listening. You are the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself and go get some of that Street Fighter fragrance that they're making. Bye, everybody.